sun rising to my eyes. Hey, I can't realize, say she don't just me. Na 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 na. Excuse me, lady, can I get to know you? I like you plenty. Excuse me, lady, can I get to know you? I like you plenty. Child, baby, the way you move it right tonight, you make me feel alright, girl. I like your catwalk, piano lay, it is show like catapult, piano lay. I like your catwalk, piano lay, it is show like catapult.
This is Amma. This is Amma wanting to help you make sense of what's going on. This is a very confusing period of our lives. What is happening to us is unprecedented. We've never seen one before. We are in a period of war in a time of peace. How funny, how ironic. But that's the best way to describe what's going on. Now, when things like that happen, people have a lot of theories, people have a lot of things they want to use to justify and explain. And today, I actually want to come from an angle, hopefully help you make sense of what's going on a little bit. It turns out, when you actually look at the evidence, what is happening is not that novel. Maybe the method by which it's happening this time is probably the novelty of it, but the actual concept is not novel. I want to explain to you something linked in to life generally. Something which can be explained by science. Something which is evidenced in religion and in history and in common sense and understanding. The Earth, the planet on which we live, is a particular size. This planet has on it a finite amount of resources. This planet has the capability of supporting a certain amount of life, and it can do so effortlessly, it can do so without interruption. We have heard for a long time that the numbers of people and organisms growing in this planet now, with our medical improvements, with all these things, have made it very difficult for nature to balance its numbers. Nature has always balanced numbers. As more come in, more exit. People have had diseases. This has been done using diseases. It has been done using natural disasters. It's been done using man-made conflicts and many different mechanisms. But the mechanisms don't seem to really matter. It's all about number regulation. We call those things limiting principles. I'll explain that. So in science, there is something called the carrying capacity. The Earth has a carrying capacity. There is a certain number of organisms, a certain amount of life that it can support effortlessly. If we go past that limit, things begin to become difficult. Food becomes a problem. We began to see climate change. Yeah, we became clever. We got medical advancements, we got technological advancements. But one of the things which comes back to bite from the technological advancements is the carbon dioxide we sent into the atmosphere and the changes to our global climate that we are currently seeing, which we don't know how to manage. That alone and some of the weather phenomena we've been seeing has been suggesting to people that the Earth is saying enough. The Earth is saying that it's got enough. It's approaching the carrying capacity. When you look at the land available, when you look at resources available, when you look at famines and things like that, the Earth has been sending signals for a bit, clues for a bit, that we are somewhere near a carrying capacity, if not the carrying capacity. Who am I to say what the carrying capacity is? But it's a concept that makes sense to me as a person who is logical, and to me as a scientist. I teach this to kids and I help kids to understand this. So today I want to bring this to the table. Another thing, which is something from the 18th century, I think, or 19th, 18th something, was this French guy went did a little bit of paleontology. He was a paleontologist. At that time, people had started understanding the strata of the Earth's layers. People were beginning to understand GTS and a few other principles. And so this guy started looking at the evidence in the rocks. And even today, if you are privileged enough to look at rock strata, if you are privileged enough to go to places like the Grand Canyon where you see layer exposure, if you are privileged enough to be in an archaeological dig of sites, what you will observe is what I'm about to explain to you. If you go through the rock strata, there are specific periods where there's a lot of fossils, diversity of fossils. Now, in science, fossilization doesn't happen ordinarily. When organisms die and there's oxygen, decomposers decompose them and recycle the nutrients and return them into the ecosystem for use. Fossilization happens when something dramatic happens, when organisms die, when organisms are not able to decompose. And it either happens because the organisms are trapped under mud, or they are trapped underwater, or maybe it was an avalanche. But there has to be something which preserves this organism and stops decomposers from reaching them. And we've seen episodes in the rock strata where there are large numbers of fossils. There are episodes where we have the average number of fossils. And then we actually see episodes where there are absolutely no fossils, which might suggest that it might be natural disasters like volcanic eruptions. Something happened, wiped everything, melted everything, and then eventually we begin to see some fossils, more fossils, more fossils, abundance of fossils, loads of fossils, and no fossils. This is cyclical in the rock strata. This is not something anybody makes up. Just look up any of the records we have and you will observe it for yourself. The first person who attempted to explain this, well, did this on a grand scale anyway, is the guy Cuvier, the French geologist Cuvier, and his theory of catastrophism. The theory says that the earth has episodes where for whatever reason it cannot support life, or it does not want to have the numbers it has, and it uses different mechanisms of mass removal. Sometimes that mechanism, those are the catastrophes. And yeah, in the Bible, the example in the Bible which comes to my mind would be the Noah's Ark and the floods. That was a catastrophe. It would wipe large numbers of organisms. Those organisms would be underwater. See, sometimes it's easy for people to pick the science, to pick the logic, to pick what we think we know, and then insult people who are religious. But in fact, for me, as a scientist who is religious, a lot of it actually does tie in, and it makes a lot of sense. If it was indeed true that Noah's Ark was a major worldwide catastrophe, then in the rock strata there should actually be episodes almost across all continents where there was a total wipe and loads of fossils, followed by very little fossils, and then organisms began to appear again. And this is in the rock strata. I wasn't there, so I can't tell you whether it was specifically the Noah's Ark or whatever, but catastrophes have been happening for a while. I like to look in history, and I like to look in history to find examples and evidence to help people make sense and to help myself make sense and to come to peace. And I found one of these quotations in Isaiah 26:20. I will quote from science. I will explain catastrophism in a minute. The details of it, the generalities of it, I've told you. Cuvier says that when we approach the carrying capacity or a carrying capacity, that the earth uses certain events to remove large numbers of organisms so that those who survive, and you will find those people are the fittest. Yes, survival of the fittest. Charles Darwin became very famous because of this. In this coronavirus, it seems that the fittest are the people with the most robust immune system. Those with a compromised immune system are not fit for this particular episode. The ones who have had coronavirus and have survived coronavirus are survivors because they were fit for this test. Survival of the fittest. It is those people who survive, it is those fittest who will go forward from this episode. Those fittest would be lower in number than what we had before this pandemic struck. So you see, by the end of this series, if anybody survives, the numbers will be lower than what was before. But those people who come through this episode will be genetically more robust. They are more likely to survive similar things in the future. So Cuvier says that these events happen. It removes large numbers of organisms, and it is one of the things the earth does to limit the number of organisms it has to support, to make that support more manageable. But let's go to Isaiah. I am quoting from the Bible as a historical reference and as a religious reference book for me, because that's the only one I know. I will ask my other religious people and see if they have quotations from anywhere else, but at the time I am actually going to record this is the only one I know. And of all the quotations I've seen, this is the one I actually prefer. Isaiah 26:20. Go, my people, enter your rooms and shut the door behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until his wrath has passed. Do I know if it is the wrath of the Lord? I don't know. Do I know if this is the earth's way of eradicating? I don't know. But this advice sounds very similar to what world leaders and influencers and opinion leaders and people with any amount of common sense are saying to us at the moment. Go home. Go, my people. So where I am, this is our third day actually in lockdown. This day, today, if I get up from my house and I elect to go out of my house, it started yesterday in fact, yeah. If I want to leave my house right now and I want to go out and about, I better have my ID with me. And I better have a good reason why I need to be out there. There is a national disinfecting exercise going on. They are disinfecting nationally. They have told all of us to stay out. Doesn't it sound like this? Enter your rooms. We were instructed to enter. Shut the doors behind you. That's the directive. Hide yourselves for a while until his wrath has passed. Actually, for us, in this particular strict lockdown for the disinfecting exercise, it started on Thursday evening and it will end on Sunday morning. So the whole of Friday is wash out. The whole of Saturday is also wash out. Maybe Sunday morning. And even Sunday morning, the guidance is don't go out unless it is necessary. It sounds so similar. That tells me that whatever period that this advice was given in Isaiah 26:20, something if not similar in the two, but it was something that was challenging human survival. It would have been something which will contaminate you if you come in contact with, or destroy you if you come in contact with. It was something that you could only avoid if you stay away from. And the best place to stay away and to hide was in your home. And it says, shut the doors behind you. And that's exactly what we've been told to do. Shut the doors behind you. There is no need to be out and about. You can turn your house into a gym. Thank you very much. You can turn your house into a school, as we've all discovered. I have been running a home school even more effectively than I did my normal school. The kind of data I gave kids this week, the kind of feedback I gave the kids yesterday, superior to what I'd have done in an ordinary week anyway. Shut your doors and convert your homes to schools. We have. Convert your homes to gyms. We have. Convert your homes to conversational points with the people within it. We have. Remove toxic people from your environment, and we have. One of the things, and there was a video from China, it was shared on this morning, and Philip Schofield shared it, of a Chinese teacher who was explaining, but I don't think it's a Chinese, but an expert teacher resident in China in this period. And the person says that you get to renew and to restore. And that's what the earth is actually doing. The earth is looking to renew and restore. The earth is looking to change. The earth is looking to remove things that are not helpful and to go forward only with the things that help. We are a destructive species, humans. We make the survival of all other organisms challenging. We make it difficult for other organisms to coexist with us. So sometimes it is required that we retreat and we would surrender for a bit and give nature time to restore. And this is one of those times. Evidence coming from Italy says that they've seen dolphins in the waters where the gondolas would have been. They are seeing more marine life in places where humans would normally recreate. They are seeing less evidence of distress thrown out by the earth. People are beginning to see changes in atmospheric pollution in places, in cities in China, where pollution could be thick and could be cut with a knife. People are reporting drops in pollution. People are reporting drops in interactions which are toxic. The earth is restoring itself. Give it a chance to do so. Stay home, and allow Mother Nature to finish the cycle. If we obey this simple instruction, if we allow Mother Nature to restore, if we give the earth a chance to redeem itself, it would be a much better place for us when we emerge. We will emerge with better skills. The people who are smarter anyway are home learning and developing. When we go back to our workplaces, we would discover workplace practices that don't make sense. There are certain workplace practices that are going to be obsolete because we've seen that there is better ways of doing it in this episode. There are some friendships which will be worth hanging on to for dear life, because this will let you test your relationships with fire. You will discover which ones are worth taking forward and which ones are not worth taking forward. And may the Lord give you the wisdom to decipher and to act on these. Isaiah 26, chapter 20. Isaiah chapter 26, verse 20. Go, my people, enter your rooms and shut the door behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while. People said it was 2 weeks. It won't be. It will be longer than 2 weeks. So this person who wrote this is Liz Old, SEO editor. Her name was Liz Canoy previously. It was actually written on the 23rd of March 2020, and it's published on crosswalk.com. Does Isaiah 26:20 mean quarantine is due to God's wrath? I don't know. It says in reading the verse alone, it probably seems eerily familiar to the coronavirus quarantine. Is this a warning, a command, a promise? What should we make of this verse today, and how can we apply it? Let's start by looking at the full text. The chapter title in Isaiah 26 is a song of praise in the NIV, and you keep him in perfect peace in the ESV. So let me read this little bit for us, put things in perspective. In that day, this song will be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city, God makes salvation, its walls and ramparts. Open the gates that the righteous nation may enter, the nation that keeps faith. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Lord, they trust in you. Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord himself is the rock eternal. He humbles those who dwell on high. He lays the lofty city low. He levels it to the ground and casts it down to the dust. Feet trample it down, the feet of the oppressed, the footsteps of the poor. The path of the righteous is level. You, the upright one, make way of the righteous smooth. Yes, Lord, walking in the way of our laws, we wait for you. Your name and renown are the desire of our hearts. My soul yearns for you in the night. In the morning, my spirit longs for you. When your judgment came upon the earth, the people of the earth learn righteousness. But when grace is shown to the wicked, they do not learn righteousness. Even in the land of uprightness, they go on doing evil and do not regard the majesty of the Lord. There are many bits in between. But it says, basically, that something's happened. I don't know what that something is. You don't know what that something is. At the moment, that something appears to be the coronavirus. Where did it come from? Who knows? How did it get here? Who cares? But it is here. There are many, many theories here. I have just been giving a video of somebody who works in telecom. That person links this quite eloquently to the 5G, and the person links it into radiation poisoning, And it makes sense. Again, I'm a scientist. Radiation poisoning makes sense. We started with 2G. We went to 3G, 4G, 5G. There are radiations. These are electromagnetic radiations. These things interact with living systems, usually by ionization. Ionization is not something healthy to living systems. We know this. We know this. And in fact, it's linked in. This guy links it to Huawei. He links it into places where he worked for Vodafone, and he was explaining some of the things that he was privy to because he worked for Vodafone at that time. And in fact, when you listen to his submission, if you are a logical person, that also makes a lot of sense. We are now developing artificial intelligence. What is nature's response to this? Who knows? We are making 5G, very soon 8G, 10G. What is nature's response to this? There is an awful lot of radiation being thrown into the environment. It's unprecedented. Humans have never interacted with this level of radiation before. And who knows how our cells would behave in this environment? We don't know. And because of that, when you look at it and you listen to the argument of radiation poisoning, that also does make sense. It sounds credible. But for me, as an ordinary person, Cuvier's catastrophism, the Earth's carrying capacity, whether it is radiation poison or not, is it biological warfare? Is it accidental release of research material? What is it? Is it a mutation? Who knows? Who knows? But for me as a person, the thing that makes the most sense is what is being given in governmental guidance, what appears to have been given in the times of Isaiah 26:20. And the guidance says, stay home. Stay out of the way of whatever it is. Don't engage with whatever it is, regardless of where it comes from. It is better not to just be in your house, but have your door locked. Minimize contact with other people. You see, isn't this quite similar to what has been said to people? So people were like, the union of the church is being challenged. In Isaiah 26:20, it did not ask people to run to the church. It did not ask people to seek refuge in great numbers at church. It asked people to seek refuge in their individual homes. And not just in your homes, and allow your neighbors to come in and go out. It says, go in and shut the door behind you. It was actually recommending isolation. It was definitely asking you to minimize contact, restrict contact with other people, because you don't know where the contagion will come from. You don't know who has been contaminated, and you don't know from whence it will come to you. When it gets to you, there is very little defense. It would have been the same in the period where this advice was given. When this was given, it was better not to encounter the contagion. And in today's life, it is still better not to come in contact with the contagion. It is much better that you stay in your little hole and you reflect and you develop and you find ways of boosting your immune system in the hope that you will survive and you will come out stronger. Remember what I said from the biological point of view. The survivors, the ones who are fit, when they emerge, definitely are stronger. They are more robust. And that's what you want to try and do whilst you are in this period of isolation. In this day, learn to use the technology available. We are lucky, better than the people who would have been subject to Isaiah 26:20. We can actually communicate. I am in my living room. If I could show you, I am actually wearing my bedroom slippers. I am very comfortable. My duvet is right here. And as you've seen from my recent videos, it comes from this comfy chair. It's my rocking chair. I sit here to think. I sit here to ponder. Do I know what's going on, and do I care whose conspiracy this is? No, I don't. The only thing which sounds logical to me is that my people, and these are the Lord's people, by the way. It says, go my people enter your rooms, not even just your houses, your rooms, your specific sacred place, your unique individual address, not in large communities, not in large communities. Who says social distancing is new? Who told you social distancing is a novelty idea? It's not. It's been practiced in many times in many places in history. Maybe not in a coordinated effort like we see this time, but this time is more global because the world is a global village now. We all communicate with each other. See how quickly it went from Asia, and now the epicenter is in Europe. The Chinese seem to be emerging. The Chinese seem to have survived it, and see how much stronger they seem to be emerging after the novel coronavirus. And that's what the rest of us need to learn. The Chinese, for whatever reason, whoever advised them would have worked with Isaiah 26:20 knowingly or unknowingly. They entered their rooms and they shut the doors behind them. And the second half was the actual relevant bit for me. Hide yourselves. Hide. Don't let people see you. Don't interact socially. Hide. Exclude yourself. For a little while, it seemed to be 8 to 10 weeks in Asia. For a little while, until the wrath of the Lord. It didn't even say the Lord in this version. It says until his wrath has passed. Whether the wrath was of the Lord's, whether the wrath was of something else, whether it was the wrath of a contagion, you stay put and take shelter until it has passed. And when it passes, you re-emerge victorious. I hoped that the way I've done this helps some of you make sense. The evidence is in the scriptures. The evidence is in history books. The evidence is even in the rocks. The evidence is everywhere. The evidence says that occasionally things like this happen. It's not new. It's not new. The catastrophes may happen. Some people call them catastrophes. Yeah, certainly how Kuvio called it. Catastrophes occurs. These are all the Earth's ways of recycling, restricting, limiting the numbers to a workable size. Because you approach a carrying capacity, you experience the living response, the limiting response. We find places, those limiting responses could be famine, it could be floods, it could be whatever, but that event tends to wipe out large numbers of organisms. And it turns out this time the organism under attack is not the dinosaur, it is actually the human. This particular contagion is affecting the human. It is definitely forcing the human to reevaluate the way we do things. We should retreat, we should surrender, we should hide, and we should give the earth the best possible chance to revive itself, to restore itself. And when we emerge, maybe we learn lessons from this. Dolphins should be on the coast of Italy. Maybe some of those gondolas need to be removed. Yes. In Tokyo, people have seen marine life. In some places, people are seeing changes in atmospheric conditions, atmospheric compositions. Many things are changing very quickly. And all these things being reported suggest a restorative period of the earth. Don't work against it. Even if you are somebody who disobeys governmental instruction, even if you don't believe in religion, even if you think those who believe are stupid, as a logical person, as a person with an ounce of common sense, the restoration of the earth, preservation of life, maintenance of equilibrium, which supports your survival, should definitely communicate with you. I wanted to explain to you why you needed to stay put. I wanted to make sure you understand the times within which we live. And I want you to do so from a variety of evidence. And I hope I have managed to do that successfully. My name remains Amma, and I remain under my duvet. For me, it's because I like to preserve myself. For some people, it's just because you are obedient. For some, it's because you are lazy. For some like me, you might need rest. Whatever the reason is, stay put. hide for a while. Stay socially distanced for a while. Don't go anywhere until it is absolutely necessary and critical. And you know what? Whilst you remain in the house, boost your immune system. The contagion is something which can find different ways of reaching people, and at the moment we don't know how it can get to you or not. The only thing you can do to help yourself is to boost your immune system. You need any of my products, check amamanson.juiceplus.com. Have a look, read up those products, and if you find any of our natural fruits and vegetable stuff might support your immune system boost, go right ahead and order. May the Lord help us, may the Lord keep us, and may you understand common sense and be obedient to this simple instruction.
Future on the